Hey folks, Steve here with a very special unboxing video for you. Today we are looking at Napoleon by Ted Raicer, published by GMT Games. This is one I've been kind of waiting for a little while. Very curious to see how this actually plays. This is a solitaire game covering, surprise, Napoleon and his career. Now, I'm a Ted Raicer fan. I have a number of games by Ted. I do like his games. Obviously, this will be a very different game than, say, his Dark and Deadly series or even most other things that he's done. This is a very different sort of monster. Now, as far as solitaire Napoleon themed games go, I have played the Napoleonic Wars, which didn't really do it for me. There's certain aspects of that system I did not like. Playing as the coalition is a very interesting idea, but yeah, I suppose as a solitaire game, it makes a whole lot of sense to be playing the big guy himself. So this is what this is going to do for us, very potentially. So decent sized box. I feel like this is a little bit wider than the typical GMT sized game. And on the back, you can see this is largely going to be a card driven game. We're going to have the game box. We're going to have a game board, 30 counters. That's it. 10-sided die, a crap load of cards. This box is actually kind of heavy. Divider cards, rulebook, playbook, player aid card. Players 1. Time 1 to 4 hours, and high solitaire, low complexity. And there's a bunch of text there you can pause and check out and read to your heart's content. But we're going to check out the inside of this thing. So we're going to take the plastic wrap off. I don't have a lot of information on this game. This is a new release, so there's no, deep history to this particular package. This is a sort of a new experience. All right. Rules of play up top. So this is going to be same sort of matte paper, non-glossy, but color. 2-column format, I suspect. Yeah, full color. So let's take a look at the actual table of contents here for a second. Introduction, the actual rules start to pick up around 5 or 6. And by the end of page 18, the rules are largely done. And there's a few card play clarifications that take us through page 22 and some scenarios, different scenarios it looks like we can start with. There's a commander scenario, the first consul scenario, and an emperor scenario. I assume you can play them all together back to back, full campaign style. But it looks like if you wanted to play it shorter, you could. And you can start to see the way things get set up here. Nice pictures involved. It's going to be hard to do full coverage here because I haven't played the game yet. Talking about being Napoleon, the sequence of play. So we have a year setup phase and a card deck phase, card action phase, campaign resolution, diplomatic phase. Makes me wonder, what kind of options do we have? What can we do different? We're going to have administrative points, diplomacy points, glory points, political points. There's different cards that come in at different phases, it looks like. Year of entry, campaign resolution, strategy and tactics cards are involved, which I'll be interested to see exactly what that looks like. There is a campaign resolution example here. So let's say it's the combat resolution phase of 1807, and Prussia and Russia declare war is in the campaign box. Okay, so it should be, yeah, War of the Fourth Coalition. In addition, the following cards are in boxes in the game board, which will impact this combat. So different commanders are involved, campaign modifiers, strategy and tactics cards, and see kind of the walkthrough there. Talking about DRM, so die rolls are a factor here. Interesting. diplomacy phase, dealing with different treaties. You know, the trick with a solitaire game is you if everything is a die roll, then you're just sitting there kind of rolling dice, hoping to roll high all the time or low all the time, or whatever. A good solitaire game has to include multiple risk events and multiple decisions. So that's going to be something I'll be looking for when I go to play this game. Okay, game end outcomes over here. So it can end. Let's see, if Napoleon is overthrown as first consul emperor because glory reaches 0. Okay. Card text gives a result explicitly noting that the game ends, that Napoleon being killed or overthrown. Certain cards end the game immediately, and various things. And the game ends with Napoleon on the throne with a legitimate heir. You get a founder of a dynasty ending, and it looks like there's some flavor text here to tell you kind of what is that denoting. So you can lose the game at various points in your progression. You can do better than history. It looks like we'd say that exile, I guess, is the historical victory, or not victory, but outcome, rather. I wouldn't call that a victory. Piece of Europe card ends the game. You get Emperor of Europe. So that'll be fun. I'm not going to read all that out, or that's like you got to save that for when you win, and you can feel good about the win or the loss or whatever you get. Wives and legitimate son markers, different scenarios. So lots to kind of unpack there. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be a incredibly like detailed game, like it as a good thing. That you should be able to set up and then play through the sequence of play and kind of learn the ins and outs of the game that way. Almost assuredly, your first play is probably going to lead to some bad results, but you got to learn how to play the game, right? Now we have the playbook, same style, quality of paper, and what do we have? This is 32 pages. It's actually thicker than the rulebook. Quick start guide. Well, that's good. So this is kind of a step-by-step on how to just get started playing. So that kind of answers the question, or not the question, but the statement I just had around, well, hey, okay, you got to get started with the game. Well, the quick start game looks like it'll walk you through some of the opening turns maybe and get you ramped up. So there's a quick start guide that's a few pages long. There's going to be an example of play that's several pages long, a card manifest, Napoleon chronology. And I wonder if that's going to be like the game in history format, the design notes, and more. So let's flip through a few of these pages to get a sense of what we're dealing with. Quick start guide definitely seems like a hand-holding playthrough the first turn. Then you have the example of play showing a lot more nuanced things, showing example cards and how they factor into the decision making there, which is going to be good. These are always really important to read, I find, so good to have it. Card manifest, so just a revalidation of every card and the historical context around the card. That's always nice to have. Given there's so many cards, I mean, like that's the majority of what this game is going to be all about are the cards. Hard to avoid that, certainly. And then here's the chronology. So you could almost, look at that as here's your short chronicle of Napoleon's career and kind of where he goes and what he does. Which, I mean, if you're looking for your, high-level summary of Napoleon's career, this might be a really, interesting read if you don't have time for the big, campaigns of Napoleon dig. Nice big book, by the way. But yeah, so and then the design notes, which don't seem like they're terribly long. A few things that they want to get out there. A Saint Helena lullaby, which is interesting, and some bits on the back. So that looks good. I think there's plenty to consume out of the playbook, and knowing those quick start rules are there can give you a quick leap into the action, which I think I'm going to value a great deal. All right, so now we have some of the player aid type sheets here. So potential campaign selection table. Use the table below to aid in selecting a playable campaign during the potential campaign segment. Okay. I do not appreciate the significance of this table, but it sounds important. And then we have campaign battle mat. So assign commanders, campaign modifiers. It looks like the actual campaign resolution comes down to those factors. So we're not necessarily maybe counting units, right? There's no units in the game. As such, here's the counter sheet. So not a counter sheet you would expect to see, right, in a GMT game. Just a little bit different. Pre-rounded counters. These are going to be thick brown core. And you can see, I mean, this is the weight of the counters for the game. Year marker, some of the diplomacy markers, a few status administrative markers, not that many. Pretty straightforward, which is nice. We're not swamped in things. And then we have our mounted map, which I guess map is maybe a strong word for it, all things considered. I'm going to try to lay this on top of the box for a moment because there's not as much to see here as you might think or expect. Let's see if I can try to adjust the view here. So there's a general records track in the top left corner of the map. Whoops, so you can see some of my old X's and R's. General records track, which is going to have values, and then there's a year track, keeping track of each year. And then otherwise, the map is really comprised of spaces where you're going to be placing cards. And you can see they are geographically oriented. Austria, and there is a map of Europe kind of behind these. So geographically speaking, they're about accurate. So you have a space for France, space for Britain, right, where there's a British part of the map. The Americas, Austria, and so on. And that all kind of looks right and looks fine. We see there's a few helpful charts on the map as well. So we have campaign, combat resolution, we have domestic politics, diplomacy, and then talking about the different treaties, commanders, campaigns, politics guards, status of the royal family, Bonaparte family up here. So generally the map is looking like it's sort of your dashboard more than it is a map of like where you are, where your armies are. This is more of a status thing. And I guess you could maybe similar to Mr. President or something where you're really looking at the map as your control board of things that you're trying to do and trying to accomplish. So in my, not a terribly exciting looking map, but I suspect it's going to serve the purpose of the game. And, you could certainly stick some other Napoleonic war game map on the table nearby if you really wanted something, to look at and appreciate from that perspective. Now, the boxes come with an insert. It comes with baggies, which is fine. You figure there's going to be maybe 1 to 2 baggies for the counters, depending on how you want to divide up the counters. You have your die, which is a green with yellow numbers. Interesting. And then the cards. And right now these are in pretty thick collective things here. Now, when you figure, there's multiple different card types here, so they're all kind of sealed up in here. Once you break them out of the shrink, and depending on how you want to organize the cards, they could simply fit in here. Maybe you put them in the baggies. They might be able to slip into the baggies, and you could just use those if you don't have card stock holders or rubber bands. I don't like using rubber bands anymore because I've had rubber bands degrade on me. But you could also fit cards underneath the flaps if you wanted to keep your insert. I'm pretty neutral about inserts. Sometimes they do help keeping the game contents organized. Sometimes they don't, and I need to get rid of them to make room for the box to shut. Given the majority of this game are just cards, and the cards are going to sit flat, and even the markers, once punched, only take up so much space, I'm very reasonably confident no matter how you did it, you could fit everything back in the box pretty simply. Now, it is probably worth getting the cards out of one of these plastic things. I'm gonna probably get all of my game opened up here very shortly, but for the benefits of the video, I'll just do the one here, because these are big sets of cards in the shrink wrap. The shrink wrap comes off pretty easy, or getting the grip you need to rip into them is pretty easy. So you can see the cards look cool, right? They're, good stock. These aren't playing cards. They're going to be more like pick up and place cards. So they should hold up pretty well unless you start like beating up on the cards. But you can see there's commanders. So Lan, Marmont, Murat, and seeing their capabilities, all of these things which I don't quite comprehend. You can see now there's campaign modifier cards, political cards, the supper at, oh, I'm not even going to say it, guys. I'm going to butcher that. Well, I'm going to try. But you can start to see these different card options that have very nice, historical artwork tied to them. The colors on the cards are actually quite pleasant to look at, so they're really nicely laid out looking cards. Nelson. So I was like, oh, Ojiro, all right. Messina, the Egyptian campaign. So Brumaire, yeah, there we go. So lots of different things. So in terms of like the historical events, the persons, the different campaigns, there's a lot here. And I'm just looking at one of the stacks of cards. There's more stacks of cards. There's so many cards, guys. But this actually looks really nice. That the cards are quite pretty. And I'm not going to look at every single card in the deck, but I'm going to just slide that in here for now. I'm probably going to get the cards, cleanly organized by year or however the game is going to want us to actually do that. But overall, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'll stick the die back in there. I'll just stick the baggies in the box for now. We'll worry about that later. But yeah, that's it, guys. A straightforward package, nothing too crazy, with the mounted map and the cards. The box is certainly the right size to get what needs to be done handled there. Yeah, nice little package. I definitely want to play this. Given I not very long ago had a solitaire kick, and while I had satisfied that to a good degree, the Napoleonic game I played at the time just didn't quite fit what I wanted it to be, or the system wasn't quite as enjoyable. I'll be interested to see if I like this much better. I think Ted does good games. So that alone is a reason that I was interested in this. I like Napoleonic games. I like Ted Raicer games. This should be a no-brainer for me. I like the component quality. I definitely want to get this played. This might even be a good one, honestly, to play as I wrap up my Axis Empires coverage and before I move on to other bigger things. So this might be a nice thing to slot in here very, very soon. It might be fun to show the solitaire play of this and see how well I do. I'm sure I'm going to do absolute garbage. And Napoleon will be killed in 1800. That's probably what's going to happen when I play. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, hope this video was informative so you get a look at what the game contents actually are. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Hopefully, in the very near future, we'll do some actual play coverage of I, Napoleon, and put this game through its paces. Until then, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Take care. Keep on gaming.